Well, so you'll see here. The reserve, I told some of you, those were reserved from there. That's still in there. You can. I'll do a very brief intro. Hi, Evan, a couple of slides. 1 minute.
It was There's an old saying in medicine that patients don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that's incredibly true. And there's, moments in your life that are just incredible. One of those moments is the moment that you get accepted to medical school and knowing that you're going to be a physician. The ability to serve others, to change people's lives, to make such an incredible impact in the world is an incredible time. You'll have more opportunities being a DO than you will with anything else in the world. Our mission is to train caring and competent osteopathic physicians who will have an impact on the Central Florida community, our nation, and our global community. If I had to go back and do it all over again, 100% I would be a DO.
Can everyone take their seats? We're about to begin. Good evening and welcome to our Orange County Commission District 1 candidate debate. My name is Mike Ng. I'm the editor and publisher for the Observer Media Group here in West Orange. And we're so excited to host this event and for the chance to help inform voters before they head to the polls on August 20th. In trying to sell this idea to our staff, I pulled up a quote from Martha Gellhorn. She's known as one of the greatest war correspondents of our time. She's also the only woman to land on Normandy on D-Day. And she said this about politics. People often say with pride, I'm not interested in politics. They might as well say, I'm not interested in my standard of living, my health, my job, my rights, my freedoms, my future, or any future. If we mean to keep any control over our world and lives, we must be interested in politics. And it's true. And we are so glad to see so many of you taking time to ensure you are making informed decisions when you cast your ballots. To begin, I'd like to thank our wonderful sponsors without whom this would not have been possible. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, Orlando Health. Our venue sponsor, OCOM, which is just incredible. And our live stream sponsor, Chris Chan Media, who's helping to broadcast this debate to anyone who was not able to get a ticket. And so now I'd like to welcome to the podium Maggie Bonko. She's the president of Orlando Health Horizon West Hospital.
Good evening. You guys ready for a debate this evening? Exciting stuff, right? Well, my name is Maggie Bonko, and I do have the pleasure of serving as the president of Orlando Health Horizon West. The West Orange community has benefited from visionary and committed community members, you're here tonight, business leaders, and politicians since its inception. This vision and commitment to our community has brought comprehensive health services, personalized care, and state-of-the-art treatment to the residents of West Orange County. It is no secret that our community is growing. Anybody have some experiences with traffic earlier? Maybe? Well, the great news is that we're happy to be a part of that growth. For over 70 years, Health Central Hospital has served the healthcare needs of West Orange. And in recent years, Orlando Health continued that legacy of care, investing in the Park Skilled Nursing Facility, service line growth in many specialties, including neurology, cardiology, and orthopedics, just to name a few. The addition of a cancer center, as well as an advanced rehabilitation center on the Health Central campus, and in January of 2021, we opened Horizon West Hospital. And we're proud to be neighbors with OCOM. We do think as your healthcare community leader that it's important to sponsor events such as tonight's debate, although we're very aware that debates generally tend to separate us into two buckets. We really view it as an opportunity to foster robust discussions and understand that we have more in common that unifies us than divides us. We at Orlando Health are privileged to be a part of this community and know it's the best place to live, work, and play because of everyone in this room this evening. So best of luck to our candidates. Thank you all for participating in this exercise of democracy this evening, and most of all, get out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. And next, please join me in welcoming Dr. Robert Hasty, Dean and Chief Academic Officer of OCOM.
So thank you, Mike, and also thanks for the Orange Observer for having the event at OCOM. I'll tell you, I'm so excited to see this community here tonight for this important debate, and I'm so excited for each of you to actually come in and experience OCOM a little bit. And sometimes I'm out in the community and they ask, what is that building there? And somebody posted on social media they thought it was going to be the next I-4 eyesore, but luckily we did get we were in the building. So, but anyway, really appreciative of all the community. So just so that you may or may not know this, but OCOM represents an over $200 million investment in this community by Dr. Kiran C. Patel. It's going to have a $1.7 billion economic impact by 2045. Right now we have 73 full-time employees. We have 1,078 credentialed faculty and preceptors. We're affiliated with 32 hospital and health care systems, including our friends, Maggie Bonko across, the CEO across the street, and all of our friends at Orlando Health. So we're really blessed to have such incredible community support. I'm also proud to announce that, we are officially the newest medical school in the nation. We welcomed 97 new medical students here last Monday. Thanks. And if you haven't seen the article in the Orange Observer, please take a look at it. We're very proud of the medical students, and they're really going to make a difference for this community for generations to come by training caring and competent physicians. So again, thank you for all the community support for OCOM. Thank you for being here tonight. Mike, thanks again for allowing us to host here at OCOM, and thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Hasty. So we just have a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. Maybe cleaning too. Inside your bags, you'll have a red little ticket. At the end of the debate, we'll have two little boxes out, where you came in. You can use that ticket to vote for your candidate of choice, sort of an exit poll. We'll post the results on our website, orangeobserver.com, and then it'll be in next week's papers too. So yeah, hang on to that. That's an important ticket. Also, please, let's be adults today. Let's do, no yelling, no shouting, interrupting, threats, threatening gestures. We don't want to have to ask someone to leave, so please don't make us do that. Basically, don't behave like you're on Facebook, and then we should be good. And also, as you leave, take time to look at the tables. We have both candidates have a table, and Orlando Health also has a table. They've got some literature and different things for you, so make sure you stop by and say hello to them. And so with that, we're ready to begin. Our moderator this evening is our sports editor, Sam Albuquerque. In addition to being an awesome sports writer, he's actually an experienced podcaster. And before joining us at OMG, he worked as a producer and host for Cox Media Group and as a TV on-air personality for Spectrum Sports 360. So everyone say hi, Sam. All right, questions in this evening's debate. They're a mix of stuff that come from our editorial team. For about the last couple months, we've also been soliciting questions from our readers online and in print. So there's a mix of those in there too. The debate will begin with opening statements from both candidates, and then we will go back and forth with questions, and then they will also have a 3-minute closing statement as well to conclude. With that, please join me in welcoming our current District 1 Commissioner, Nicole Wilson. And please welcome our challenger, Mr. Austin Arthur.
Well, we will have everything by both Mr. Arthur and Commissioner Wilson. Mr. Arthur, 1 to 3 You will have 3 minutes to begin. Mr. Arthur, whenever you're ready.
Well, I just noticed that the mayor of Orange County is in the room. Let's give it up for the mayor. I think he's a resident in District 1, so I'm going to procure that vote. But thank you all for being here. You know, this is a demonstration of something really wonderful. I think that people are excited in West Orange County. There's energy. I think there's 600 people in the room. That's how many tickets. It's a sold-out event. So I'd like to give all of you guys, let's give yourselves a round of applause for being here. This is probably the biggest event for a district commissioner debate ever. So thank you. Now, I know I got the time clock, but this next one, I want my wife to stand up because she's the most amazing person. She's been dealing with a lot the last year and a half, and I love her, and she deserves at least 20 of these seconds. So thank you, Kelly. I also want to thank the Observer for doing this, and I'll tell you guys a little bit about myself. And so I'm a former firefighter paramedic, and I originally wanted to be an entrepreneur. I told my dad that. He basically told me to stop being a bum and get a real job. So I did. I became a fire medic. My brother and I wanted to do business, so we started hatching up our little business plans while doing that. We would eventually open a marketing firm here in West Orange County and also a gymnastics center. We come from a gymnastics background. My parents met through gymnastics, and that's Gymnastics USA. It would turn into the biggest gymnastics center in the state of Florida, and that's right here in Orange County. And in addition to that, while we were growing the businesses and everything, I started to find myself with a little bit more time on my hands, and so I could do one of two things. I could pour time back into the business, which is often a choice, or just do something I love. And for me, that's giving back to the community. I'm a people person, I love people. So I started to get involved in volunteerism with the West Orange Habitat for Humanity, 8 Waves, Challenge 22 to end veteran suicide. And with that, you start to work a lot with local government. And so I built some great relationships with a lot of the local leaders in West Orange County, a lot of the mayors and commissioners, many of whom have endorsed our campaign at this point, which I'm truly grateful for. But in Orange County, it was a little bit more of a struggle, and I just felt there was a little bit more of a disconnect. So I started to do what any man would do who feels like they got a problem, is complain about it and ask other people to fix it. Nobody wanted to do that. They kept on telling me if I got a problem, fix it myself. And so here we are a year and a half later. We've been running hard and fast. We are on the ballot, and we got on the ballot because we did it by petition. So 1,800 people in West Orange County signed their signature for us to be on the ballot. And we only needed 1,450, so it was quite an amazing thing. We're the only candidate to be on the ballot. And we have tremendous support, and I'm just grateful for that. So I would love to, I'm excited for tonight, and I just want to thank you again. August 20th is the election, so make sure you tell all your friends they got to vote Austin Arthur on or before August 20th. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Arthur. Mr. Wilson, you have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you so much, and I want to thank my challenger. I also want to say hello to the mayor. We spent a lot of time together yesterday, so I appreciate you being here today, and I also have to thank my family and my husband, who has been just my rock. Elections are the ultimate job interview, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to actually lay out my resume to you this evening. My name is Nicole Wilson, and I want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I ran for election back in 2020 after my predecessor led the charge to destroy public conservation lands with a large toll road at the request of private development interest. I knew we could do better, and our community deserves so much more. In the last 3.5 years, we really have. But we aren't done yet. We have so much more to do. And I'm committed to working for you every single day. I was raised by parents who instilled my tireless work ethic and my unshakable moral compass. My father was a scientist, teacher, and physician at the University of Florida Medical School and dedicated his entire career to alleviating suffering. My mother worked as a speech therapist in public schools and believes that every child has the potential to succeed. My parents raised us to embody the Jewish concept of tikkun olam, which roughly translates into improve and repair the world. That idea that we all have an obligation to go out and do good things for others and repair the world. My undergraduate degree is in human services and psychology, and I gained valuable experience doing social services and healthcare work, but like everybody with a psychology degree, I ended up back in law school. And then I actually gravitated very naturally towards environmental law when I was there. I returned to law school as somebody who had lived in this community for a while and had 3 kids. So understanding the necessity of nonprofits and environmental organizations became very apparent to me. I graduated with an honors degree in environmental law and continue to do work with the nonprofits and environmental groups. Literally focusing on the ordinances that I have to deal with and wrestle with daily. And so one of the things that I came into office knowing was that we needed to update these ordinances. Some of them were past 30 years old, and we've done some of that. So my passion lies in public interest law, and it lies with doing work of justice and freedom. But my heart lies in this community and lives in this community. And I've spent my entire 26 years of marriage here. All 3 of my children grew up here, and it was the best decision we ever made to make this our home. I've had the honor to serve as a PTA or PTO board member at my children's schools over the years. And along with a group of passionate parents, we were able to achieve so much together, bringing a music program back to school, seeing children thrive. I was a Girl Scout troop leader from kindergarten on up, and those people are now young adults. I'm dating myself a little bit. But the idea was that that's where my heart was. I spent every Friday night for, I guess, the last 12 years on a bus with the West Orange Warrior Band. I'm out of time already. Wow, went really fast. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. This first question. This first question will be for both candidates. Each will have 3 minutes to respond. If needed at all, please ask for me to repeat the question throughout the debate. Mr. Arthur, we will go to you first. The District 1 Commissioner role is one voice on the 7-member Orange County Committee. Explain how you will work with the 6 other commissioners to represent the people of District 1 and ensure their voices are represented.
Well, thank you, Sam. And I think that this is probably one of my biggest concerns and issues, and it boils down to the word partnerships. We have to, as a commissioner, your most important role is to basically be a liaison for the voice of the people and all the other stakeholders, including our fellow commissioners on that board, business owners, and other key stakeholders. But you gotta build a coalition of understanding, and that's about articulating with kindness and working together in a partnership mentality to get the message across of what the voters in District 1 are feeling and thinking. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of failures of emotion and coming out of District 1, failure for lack of a second. As a matter of fact, more than any other time in Orange County history has a motion been made on the behalf of District 1 and nobody seconded. And it's really a sad thing because what happens is we keep getting pounded over here. And if you look at development, I think it's one of the biggest issues and one of the biggest concerns as I'm knocking on doors in West Orange County. The first thing they say is the roads, the infrastructure, overdevelopment. And the only way that you're going to control that development is by working in partnership with people. So that takes collaboration. And if you keep getting outvoted by your fellow commissioners, you're never going to get anywhere. So what happens is we keep getting pounded with development without any infrastructure improvements, without any road improvements. And the reason is because what the developers do is they're smart people. They go to the other commissioners, they sit down, they have conversations, they work things out, and they procure those votes. So we get outvoted every time, almost every time in District 1 of matters of importance, unless we kind of get lucky. So I think that the way you change that is working with people, sitting down with people. It's a little bit more difficult with sunshine law. You know, you can't just sit down with a commissioner and have coffee together. But there are ways to do it, and it's about articulating the cause and the voice of the people. I think we need to be less adversarial and work more in partnership, and it takes meeting with people and sitting down with people. So that's basically the way to do it. I think we need a partnership mentality, again, in West Orange County, and that's how you're going to get things done with the other commissioners.
Great, thank you, Mr. Same question, please, Mr. Wilson. You have 3 minutes.
Can you restate the question?
Of course. The District 1 Commissioner role is one voice on the 7-member Orange County Commission. Explain how you will work with the 6 other commissioners to represent the people of District 1 and ensure their voices are represented. You have 3 minutes.
So thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure we were answering the same question because it was a little bit of an answer that I don't think articulated the importance of the Sunshine Law, which means that the work we do, and we got out last night after dinner time, we work through our lunches, the mayor has a bladder of steel, so we sit for very long periods of time. But that's where that work gets done. If we're negotiating in back rooms, we're breaking the law, and that's not something I do ever. One of the things I do take great pride in, though, is having community meetings, even when they're not required by the code. I felt really strongly that our residents needed to be included in the development of the updates to our code and the updates to our comprehensive plan. So immediately upon taking office, one of the things I made sure of is even when there was a development plan coming down the pipeline that was so far along that there were no real approvals, I still said, could we go out there and meet with the community? And quite frankly, even though you would hear here that those developers don't meet with me, they do, and we have. And for many of you in this room, you've been to those community meetings, and they sometimes do get adversarial, but that's where we hear what people's needs are and what their wants are and what their concerns are, and then we, a lot of times, resolve those things before it ever gets back to the board. And unfortunately, those cases don't make headline news because they get resolved, and usually they are seconded and often passed with a unanimous vote. So I think the ones that raise red flags are the ones that end up either not being resolved because there was something going along the way, or they're not resolved yet. And so, you know, we continue to work day in and day out as a collegial board, and we've really achieved so much over these last 3.5 years. I'm very proud of the board and the way we work together. And I'm not just saying that because the mayor's in front of me.
This next question will come back to you, Commissioner Wilson. You will have 3 minutes to respond. Coming to the end of your first term on the County Commission, what of your accomplishments are you most proud, and what remains to be accomplished if you are reelected to your seat?
I'm proud of so many things that we've gotten done, and I say we because I have team members, I have community members that have helped with our achievements. We've saved and put in conservation over 1,000 acres of land, ecologically sensitive land, 1,000 acres since I got into office. We've been able to update a wetland code that was over 30 years past its expiration date, not using the science we know about flood mitigation and the restoration of our habitats. We've been able to do work from our housing trust fund to being able to pull more TDT funds into our arts and cultural affairs. It's really hard for me to narrow down any one particular thing, but I would say probably the Green Place funding for our conservation lands, because we don't get those back. If those get eaten up by development or roadways, then they're gone forever. So that is a gift to our children.
Thank you. Next question will be for you, Mr. Arthur. You will have 3 minutes to respond. You had a quick rise from local businessmen to having your face on pretty much every street corner in West Orange County. Simple question for you. Why did you decide to run for office?
Because of the current commissioner. Just getting you back for saying we weren't answering the same question. But I just do want to say the Green Place Initiative is amazing. I'm a big supporter. I want to thank the mayor for pushing that so hard. A lot of times that Green Place Initiative stuff, it would go in the initial part of the meeting, the consent portion of the meeting, and people don't really know what is done, how much conservation is being done in all of Orange County. The mayor has been spearheading that, and I think it's great. We're going to do a lot more of that, and I want to do it together. With regard to my face being everywhere, thank you. My wife's and children's face are there too. But, you know, I think that one of the biggest things for me, the reason why I'm running is because I just felt that the past 4 years, we have talked a lot about infrastructure problems. We have talked a lot about overdevelopment. But the past 4 years, it hasn't gotten better, not in the least. I mean, there's been a lot of talking, a lot of arguments, and that's true, but we need effective leadership. And the way you're going to do that is working with people. It takes collaboration. It doesn't take finger pointing and getting angry. So I know that people meet in community meetings, and that's just swell, but you do have to sit down. And I'm not talking about sunshine. I'm not talking about sitting down with the mayor in a back room with cigars. I'm talking about sitting down with all the stakeholders that are involved, and yes, sitting down with developers, because if you don't do it, I told you what happens. They procure those votes, and they've done it for 4 years, and that's why you continue to get pounded with development and nothing is being done about it. It's actually kind of bizarre. And there's a 5-minute video that's being storming the internet where not only does a developer call the commissioner out about this because it's a big problem, but almost all the commissioners on the board also did. Don't take my word for it. Go check it out online. And so I'm not trying to be tough, but the fact of the matter is it's a real problem. We have to control the growth. And you don't do that without working people. You got to negotiate. You know, there's a negotiation table, a hypothetical negotiation table at every one of these development proposals. And there's always a seat there for the District 1 commissioner, and that seat has been empty for 4 years. It'll never be empty with me. I will talk to anybody, anytime, no matter what. If I disagree with you, if we agree, it's my only job. It's not enough to show up to the BCC meetings. You gotta show up every single day with everybody, including people you disagree with.
There was no rebuttal for that one specifically. This next question will be for both candidates. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. We will start with Mr. Arthur. If you are elected, how will you ensure that District 1 constituents will be able to meet with you when they have a concern?
This one's right up my alley. 407-305-2052. That's 407-305-2052. You could call me, text me, Saturday, midnight, anytime. I will always answer and I will be there. I think that it's already been stated, this is our biggest issue, because a lot of times the current commissioner and I, we agree on certain things. We agree on certain projects that shouldn't be going through, but a lot of times they go through anyway. So it's the idea that you have to be available. So my cell phone's out there, it's always been out there, I've always been available, I'm willing to meet with everybody. I met with somebody the other day who, him and I, we see the world differently, and this guy knew it too, and he said, I'm really surprised that you're meeting with me. And we sat down for an hour. He had this map and everything. It was great. And I learned a lot, because when you sit down and talk to people, you do learn a lot. So I'll be fully available. I think it's the most important job. I will not be a subject expert on all these things. I probably won't be a subject expert on most of them, because that's not the job of a commissioner. There's subject experts to do that. There's staff and the stakeholders. What we need to do is we need to be leaders, not activists.
First, state the question, please.
Yeah, of course. If you are re-elected, how will you ensure that District 1 constituents will be able to meet with you when they have a concern?
So I was the first commissioner, District 1 or otherwise, to actually institute district office hours. I feel like it's a burden for my residents to have to drive downtown. And so we rotate those. Winter Garden, City of Winter Garden was nice enough to lend me some space. The HOA down in Hunters Creek has lent me some space. I'm at the HOA over in Williamsburg sometimes. And I open those meetings up for everybody. And you know what I do during those meetings when I'm sitting there face to face with somebody? I turn my phone off. And I think it's really, really important to give the person that's in front of me right then my attention. When I go into my Board of County Commission meetings or the commission meetings or the board meetings that I have on the other really important advisory boards, I don't bring my phone. My phone is off if it's in my bag, because if you probably weren't living here at the time. I know you're newer to the area. But TextGate was a thing where people were texting actually on the dais. And the understanding about the importance of being in the moment, in a meeting, listening to the actual testimony right then and there. It's a legal obligation. And then when I'm meeting with people face to face, having them get my singular attention is critical.
This next question. We'll come back to you, Commissioner Wilson, for this next question. You will have 3 minutes to respond. Mr. Arthur will have 2 minutes for a rebuttal. Earlier this month, you were supposed to host a community meeting about Special Parks Farm. This week, the week of the meeting, it was canceled. A West Orange resident recently wrote an op-ed in the Orange Observer in which he suggested you were delaying the process for this proposal so you would not have to render a decision before the election. What is your response to his allegation?
Well, I want to start off by apologizing. There was definitely a miscommunication if that was the interpretation, and my apology is sincere. I hold community meetings for things that aren't required. I oftentimes do more than one if things at the first one didn't go well, or if I had an obligation that took me away from that. This particular community meeting was actually pulled at staff request because they wanted to work through a site plan. So I believe that it's continuing through the process, and I want to assure everybody that there's a process that when those things happen, due process means that every single person, all the stakeholders, are allowed to participate and be noticed and notified. If that didn't happen in this case, I'll find out why. I will say that it happened to fall at the same day, the day after my father passed away. And so there was some personal things that had pulled me away, and that's not a reason not to have my staff attentive, but I just want you to know that when we do a community meeting, it's because we want the feedback. It is not to delay, it is not in order to provide some kind of mechanism for people to feel like they're not getting their answers.
I just want to say that my heart goes out to you and your family about your father. It was mentioned just now, and I had to deal with that myself, and I'm still not over it. So, I want to extend my love to you on that subject. With Special Hearts Farm, it's a really a tough subject. This program is incredible. I've had the pleasure of going out there to the farm and understanding it and experiencing it. And we need to support this farm. I support this farm fully. And the issue here, and I think this happens a lot in West Orange County, is there's a lack of clarity. There's a lack of clarity about why somebody's against something. When Gotha was going through the Temple on Hempel, everybody remembers that with the catchy name. I was out there, I was pushing against it. I didn't want the Temple on Hempel. I made 150 t-shirts about it, and we slapped those suckers on everybody in Gotha. But the problem there is people were accusing the residents of being anti-religious, which just wasn't the case at all. People know that my faith to me is very serious, but this is an issue of clarity. And right here in the rural settlement, the Avalon Rural Settlement, I think that residents probably love this mission, but they're afraid that this would set a precedent to change, to allow for other uses to come into this area and really destroy the character of the area. Now here's the problem. It's the role of the commissioner to really be the leader and articulate the options, hear everybody. They have an option to do a comprehensive plan text amendment. That was proposed. That was shut down. I don't know why. It seems like a pretty wise option to me. So I think that you need to look at all the options, be honest, be forthright with people, sit down with people, not just call for community meetings, but actually sit down with people and talk about the options that they're expressing. So I would support the comprehensive plan text amendment to lock it into place. I do not support other uses, but I support Special Hearts Farms very strongly. And I think that the RV park is a perfect example, going 3 to 1 acre. That's a real problem, and I have denounced that effort, and I continue to do so.
This next question was for both candidates, but Mr. Arthur already answered it, so we'll just ask it for you, Commissioner Wilson. Given what you know about the Special Hearts proposal, if you had to vote today, how would you vote and why? And with 1 minute.
So here's the thing, is the reason why staff pulled it was there wasn't a completed site plan. So I don't have enough to tell you what that would be, and even if I could, it would really be a violation of that due process. Somebody has property there, and that property rights require due process. And so in order to, talk to my community members and talk to the applicant, I go back and I actually disclose that every time, because that's what you do if it's a quasi-judicial hearing, which this will be. I'm not sure about a comprehensive plan text amendment for a particular case like this, but I will say that that's why we have a planning department. So I hope everyone stays plugged in. I know their program is a huge blessing and gem in our community, and we're going to find a home if that's not the one, but I think it is. I just want to make sure that we're working through that process. So understanding that it's not a yes or no that I can just dump out in a debate for slogans, but something really important for us to work through with those applicants.
I'll take my minute. I'll take my minute on that one, on that question. So that's what we call a lawyer's dodge, ladies and gentlemen. I know I just got my GED, but I know one when I see one. I was very clear on where I stand on that issue, and I think she should be too. So, this is part of the problem. This is what I'm talking
So
about.
wait,
It's political games.
you're gonna vote on something without seeing a site plan?
No, I
You're
didn't
gonna
say
vote
that.
on something without.
I made it very. I didn't say that.
You're gonna cast a vote without, you're gonna deprive somebody of their due process rights.
I'm going to let residents know
deprive
where I
somebody of their
stand
due process
because
rights.
I'm sure you have an opinion, and we don't know why you're not saying it.
Let's
I'm going to let no.
keep a
Yeah,
quick
we'll
pause.
let her stop interrupting. Yes.
Interrupt each other. You had your minute to respond.
Yeah.
He originally was taking away his minutes, but he does have the right to respond to this question. Go ahead and interrupt.
All right.
32 seconds.
So this is
I'm
the
not on
thing.
Audience members, please, as well, let's keep it civil and not interrupt the payments. Thank you.
Yeah. This is the thing. People have opinions. Every commissioner has an opinion. To pretend that you don't have a stance, and you almost had a Freudian slip. You said, I think it will. But you got to be clear with people. The thing is this. I'm not saying that I make a decision right here and now. I know how it works. But I am being very clear with residents where I stand, and that's what they want. They need to know where you stand. They can't find out from the dais every time when the vote's 5 seconds from happening.
That is the definition of a quasi-judicial hearing. So if you're making
Okay.
those determinants ahead of time, you've disqualified yourself.
Okay.
I just have to remind you that each question, each time is given designated panel, so please, let's refrain from interrupting each other or responding during the other candidate's time. Thank you.
My apologies.
For Mr. Arthur, this question, you will have 3 minutes to respond. In June, former Orange County Fire Rescue Battalion Chief Stephen Davis announced his candidacy as a write-in candidate. His candidacy moved the election up to August 20th, the August 20th primary ballot. Before this, Davis was a supporter of your campaign. What did you know about Davis's intentions before his announcement, and what involvement did you or your campaign have in the decision?
So I had no involvement in that decision, but I will tell you a lot of people support our campaign, and it's not because of me, because they want this current commissioner out. She mentioned the previous commissioner 3 times already. He's sitting over there. He doesn't want you in office too, so he supports my campaign. A lot of people do. And so I met Chief Stephen Davis because I was running against Nicole Wilson, and that's how he introduced himself to me. I went on his podcast. He came to my house for a barbecue. It was pretty great. He was very supportive. But then he calls me one day before he made this decision, and he says, I want to run against Nicole Wilson because nobody's paying attention to this issue. Nobody's paying attention to the fact that she said to firefighters during COVID, the ones that disagreed with her stance on the COVID vaccine, she said to the lawyer, can we find out if we can hold these firefighters liable for wrongful death suits? That was her question to the lawyer. And so, of course, he had to explain about sovereign immunity, and she goes, darn. So it wasn't funny. It's not funny to make fun of our firefighters. And I know that we're used to politicians, especially ones in D.C., that attack our police department all the time and our police officers. But I think that's the first time in American history a politician has ever attacked our firefighters. So this is the reason why Chief Stephen Davis is doing this. He doesn't really like the county. He's suing the county. He just wrote an entire book about it. If you go to his campaign website, you can buy the book. So, you can do your own math there. But he really wanted to highlight this issue. And you know what? He was right. Because here we are talking about it, talking about the thing that he's upset about, how she attacked firefighters. So I don't know what he's doing. I thought it would be cool if he was here in the middle tonight, but he's not. But he can have at it. He's a write-in candidate. And the thing is this, too. I was always told, including by this commissioner, that August elections help incumbents. And so I don't really know that this helps us. It probably hurts us. But, the rules, the goals are always moving with this one. So that's it. But we'll wish Stephen Davis good book sales and a good election.
Thank you. We would like to note that the owners of the did invite Mr. Davis to participate. He did not respond. For Commissioner Wilson, you will have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you. Actually, my words were not about whether the August or November race was the more important. It was about the manipulation of voters. I welcome any and all people who want to step in and run, and I respect that you're doing it the way you're doing it because it's public. You're reporting, you're doing the things you're supposed to be doing. To have somebody who has evidently held a grudge against the actions of an entire board for several years step in the last minutes of the last day of qualifying as a write-in candidate, which means they won't be named, and all it does is change the election date. That's all it does, is a manipulation of the voters. And I don't think that's okay, and I think that should be called out every chance we get. I would say that every decision that my board made during COVID was a really difficult one. They were life and death decisions. Nothing was funny. Nothing was good. And I will tell you that in particular, the support for our firefighters. My brother's a firefighter, my brother-in-law's a firefighter. It's interesting because I believe my neighbor got a mailer this week that said that you opposed a tax, the only tax that I've supported during my tenure has been for our firefighters. So either you're defunding them or you agree with that particular position on the MSTU. I'm not sure, but I will say that I would take up a debate with any candidate at any time, and I really appreciate the real candidates that are here, and I hope everyone does their homework.
You will have 3 minutes to respond. Commissioner Wilson, you will have 2 minutes for a rebuttal. A criticism during your campaign has been your suggested ties with former Orange County Commissioner S. Scott Boyd. What has been his involvement in your campaign, and what is your response to this criticism?
So before I talk about Scott Boyd, I know we really want to talk about him, is this tax thing. So for the first time in 17 years, your taxes were raised 26% with this MSTU. And the problem is not that we're helping firefighters. The problem is that the Orange County budget has grown 55% in the past 4 years. The problem is that the Orange County Commission gave themselves a 25% pay raise. So it's more money being spent, more money in the pockets of the commissioners, and more taxes for you. So I always support firefighters. I was a former firefighter. My father was a 35-year firefighter, died from a firefighter cancer lymphoma. We support our firefighters, but when you do this sneaky stuff where you put the tax right in and you don't have any community engagement, we talked a lot about community engagements, no community engagement. As a matter of fact, District 3 Commissioner Uribe, who's a huge firefighter supporter, she voted no because the public wasn't involved in this new tax. And we wonder why. We know we got a fancy endorsement from the union, and then bada bing, bada boom, tax approved. So I'm not for that. All right, so Scott Boyd, I know Scott Boyd because he does a lot of work in the community. As a matter of fact, I'm a board member for the West Orange Habitat for Humanity. I see Marilyn in the crowd, amazing woman. Let's give it up for the Habitat for Humanity. And Scott Boyd does a lot of stuff aside from whatever else he does in his former commissionership, including constantly supporting charities, including the West Orange Habitat for Humanity. He hosts us every year on his property. So that's how I know Scott Boyd. His involvement of this campaign is very much is that he says, please remove Nicole Wilson. We need a new commissioner. And that's about it. He's donated some money to the campaign. As a matter of fact, I think we got I don't know what it is, 300 donors to the campaign. Don't cite me, but it's a lot. And so that's all I really got to say about Scott Boyd. Thanks for all your service. I appreciate you, and we agree that we got to get a new commissioner. Does anybody else agree with that? Scott Boyd's not alone in this room.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Commissioner Wilson, you have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
So I'm not sure what to rebut to. I will say that I think knowing the history of my 2020 race and that there was a last-minute write-in candidate and those shenanigans, the public had the right to be questioning of the last-minute write-in candidate and the association with a former commissioner. I think there's also, a big difference between you and I in the fact that those, lines of supporters, many of them, are developers, big developers, deep-pocketed developers in this area. And yes, I have a target on my back, and I have had since day one for challenging them and for saying, let's do better by this community. And I think it's important to understand that when I go to work every day, I work for the people. Our millage rate has stayed steady. Your tax rate for your property has stayed steady. Don't get lied to. It has stayed steady. The MSTU is for firefighters specifically. The only other place that we've tried to hold people's feet to the fire is impact fees. They were held down through Scott Boyd's tenure, Betsy Vanderlei's tenure. We finally got them caught up, but we are now 17 years in the hole on those impact fees. But those are paid for by developers, by the people who are profiting and then moving out. So it's really important to know the differences. I think the other piece, well, actually, I think that was it for me. I don't really have anything else to say about that.
We will come back to you, for the next question. You will have 3 minutes to respond. In recent weeks, this election has turned quite ugly, with much published on social media and other websites about your opponent. One of the people responsible for this content claims to be your supporter. Please comment on these actions and share your knowledge of and relationship to this person in question.
So Much like I described about being in meetings and not having my phone, I think it's important to mention I am not on social media maybe as much as some of the other people involved in politics or in this race. I will say that I have been 100% completely transparent and honest about my website, which is thevoteNicoleWilson.com, my official website, which is NicoleWilson.org. If it doesn't come from those, if it doesn't have my disclaimer, I have a license at stake here. I'm a licensed attorney in the state of Florida. I'm not gonna mess with that for these games. What I do is I am clear by reporting, and I don't have the ability to monitor social media for everyone. Now, I will tell you, I think it's a really difficult thing to walk into in this type of realm and try to convince people to run for office when they're attacked that way. And so I did immediately, when I heard about it, my husband called me in Gainesville where I was with my father, and he said, this is happening, and I said, I'll have somebody, I'll make a post, and I said, I do not tolerate political violence or intimidation of any kind. I have said at all times to lead with love, because we get enough things done that way. I believe in arguing policy, not personality. I believe in honesty and transparency. So I can say to everybody here, now, and everywhere, don't speak for me, but I cannot police their conduct outside of here. And I think it's important to note that when you step in the public realm, it does get ugly. It's not fair or fun, but that's happened to me for years and years. You know, the videos that flew around during COVID were so ugly, and they were cut and pasted, and I just had to roll by them and not get stuck on that, because we have too much work to do. We have too much actual work to do to get sucked into social media.
Next question will be from Arthur. You will have 3 minutes to respond. The people publishing similar information to what we asked Commissioner Wilson about say you have say your history of arrests and past reported issues with law enforcement make you unfit for this office. How do you respond?
Yeah, I got so many things to respond to. The reason why I got my phone, I know you keep talking about it, is because I got the picture right here. You definitely know her. And so I think it's very disingenuous for you to lie about that. And I don't know anything about COVID. I wasn't talking about you back then. But I can tell you this, it's been pretty brutal. My history is very clear. My background, I've made mistakes like any other person in this room. Nobody's perfect. And we put that out on our website, and we've been very clear about everything that's happened in my past. I'm not ashamed of it. It's part of my journey, it's part of my faith journey, and it's who I am today. But the problem is, people that support the commissioner, and you know, she might have made a post, I thought that was about Donald Trump getting shot, but you could have just called me back. You know, they're saying some pretty horrible things, and I got some right here I want to share. I got 2 minutes. So this is according to the people that are attacking me, and I just thought, you know, I'd share some. So I am part of a satanic secret society cult, and I throw sacrificed animals onto people's lawns who dare not vote for me. I'm a drunken drug addict, sociopath Nazi, and I'm also a destroyer of worlds, especially in West Orange County. And by the way, I'm also a Christian nationalist. You know, remember the satanic part too. I'm part of the deep state. I'm a developer pawn. We've heard that one tonight already. They posted a picture that was supposed to depict my wife doing some kind of weird, bizarre, satanic ritual to summon up money from PPP or something. And I defrauded the SBA. And you know, all this stuff, it's kind of laughable and silly. It really is a bit ridiculous. But what's really not ridiculous is the attacks on my family, the attacks on my wife, questioning her fidelity, the fact that my child, who I'm looking at right now, who has to go to school, saying that I abandoned my child. You know, when somebody posted something that wasn't too nice on my opponent's website, her Facebook page, I text her. I told the person to take it off. When they didn't, I posted a nice comment on there, and that person removed the comment. And it was nothing. It was a nothing comment. It was just basically Austin's awesome and you're not. So that's leadership, and you could denounce those things now because it was done on your behalf with your website linked. And so we need leadership, and that's the fact of the matter. It doesn't matter if you did it, you should have denounced it, you didn't call me back. So we know we need to change.
I'm jealous you have so much time that you can do that. Like, I didn't even know that was happening. Because
hey, I work 100 hours a week. I don't know about you.
I'm working every day for the people, not scrolling social media. And I think it's really, really important for you all to understand that when you step into the public, it is an ugly thing. I would never stand up
So
here.
you
and-
condone the comments about my wife and
I
children?
would
Is that what you're saying?
never, I would never
So denounce
do
it
that.
for everybody to hear.
I have done, I just did it, I've done it 3 times. The important part is that you are not acknowledging that when you are a public figure, that you will get public scrutiny, and it's not fun.
No, I know.
But it happens, so
Yeah.
there are things.
I will again remind
Sorry.
both the Commissioner and Mr. Arthur that to not interrupt during the other speaking time. We have tried very hard to make this as fair as possible as far as the timing goes, so let's continue to be a little bit more respectful of our rules, please. Thank you. This next question will be for both candidates. Each will have 3 minutes to respond. Commissioner Wilson, we will start with you. In March, the Orange County Commission voted to send Disney's proposed affordable house project to the state for review. Ultimately, the project will come back to the County Commission for a final vote. What is your opinion on this project? And if you have to decide today, even though you don't have a final site plan, you have reviewed this very often and have eventually sent this as a commission, how would you vote?
So this is another one of these cases that is in the very earliest stages, and I know you're gonna say this is an attorney answer, but it's not fair to the landowner. It's not fair to any of the stakeholders involved, including the residents. I will tell you that when Disney reached out to me 3 years ago and said, we'd like to do something similar to what Universal's we were thinking about looking for affordable housing, I was over the moon excited because we have a housing crisis. And the idea of having our largest employer have some skin in the game and participate in a public-private partnership with us in order to really bring forward some good solutions for workforce and attainable housing sounded very promising. As it rolled out, I'm very concerned about so many parts of that application, and I was extremely vocal about it. It was televised, it was sliced up and diced, but I think the sad part about that day wasn't the application moving without my approval. It was that nobody noticed a application that came through unchallenged, unargued about earlier in that day for an adaptive reuse project in the Dr. Phillips area, where things are usually very controversial. But that applicant had come to me ahead of time. We had done a community meeting. We went back out. We proposed looking at more open space on it and potentially adding some more transit options nearby. It went through that process, and when it came back, no one objected. There was a motion and a second, and it passed unanimously, and that's more attainable housing coming to District 1. So I think that should have been also held up as an example of how things can get done, but instead we're focused on the very earliest stages of a potential proposal. And I want people to stay involved and stay engaged in this because you will continue to have the opportunity to give that feedback along the way.
Thank you. Same question to you, Mr. Arthur. Would you like me to repeat it?
We're talking about the Disney project, right?
Yeah,
Not-
the
okay.
affordable housing project. I would
Yep.
also ask to respond directly to the question as opposed to another.
Bouncing around, no bouncing around. Okay, no problem. Thank you, Sam. So the Disney project, that was an unmitigated disaster, and the people in Horizon West know that. There was a lot of sneaky little political games being going on there. I put a whole 20-minute video about it. We broke it down, Robert's Rules of Orders and all that fun stuff. And, people try to blame other people in the commission for this issue. But the fact of the matter is we have a housing crisis in West Orange County. We have a housing crisis in all of Orange County and the whole state of Florida, as a matter of fact. But here's the deal. You solve that problem with more units on the market. It's a simple supply and demand issue. But that doesn't mean everywhere, every time. Not every spot of land is good for a multifamily housing unit development. So for example, not everywhere. It has to be in character. And not every time. The infrastructure has to be in place. Avalon Road, Hartside Road, those are failing roads. And that project was not a good project at this time. So what are you supposed to do as a commissioner? You're supposed to meet with Disney, with the Michaels organization. You're supposed to meet with them relentlessly. You're supposed to talk about other options. And you're supposed to be very clear about that. We know for a fact, and you could sunshine it, we talked about sunshine already, that those meetings weren't really taking place and the stakeholders weren't engaged properly. And then what did we have? We had this thing go through. And when the motion was made, the mayor made the motion very powerfully. We're going to approve this thing. And then anybody have anything to say before we vote? Silence. It was just total silence. So the question is, was she really opposing the project or not? And I think that that's an interesting thing to look at. But you don't have to take my word about it. Just look at the videos. And whenever a video is posted on these things, we don't play games. We just know that people are busy. They're working. We don't post 5-hour videos. We post it with the full link for people who want to study what really happened. So again, I will always be clear with you. You will not always agree with me, but you will always know where I stand. You'll know what's coming. You won't get surprises from the dais. We will do it together, and I will meet with anybody, including Disney, because probably there was some better land we could have done with. That's all I got.
We will come back to you, Mr. Arthur, for this question. You will have 3 minutes to respond. Commissioner Wilson, you will have a 2-minute rebuttal. You have a background as a firefighter, paramedic, and as an entrepreneur, like you mentioned. You do not have a background, however, in planning, development, land code, zoning, etc. If elected, how much of a learning curve do you anticipate, and how can you ensure residents you can render decisions that are best for the community?
So I'm not applying for the job of, developer or planning and zoning director or anything like that. I'm applying for the job of commissioner. That's a political position. And that political position entails basically being a liaison for people. You need to meet with people, you need to work with people. You shouldn't be a subject expert. Sometimes that gets you distracted, the same way 2 pilots probably shouldn't fly in the same cockpit without their prescribed roles. It gets a little bit frustrating and confusing. The role of a commissioner is not to be a subject matter expert. And all too often, you see our commissioners, they go on, and the meetings are very long, and they all have a lot of thoughts on things, and they know so much about so much that just isn't so. And the fact of the matter is, you work with the staff, not in an adversarial way, because we see what happens when you do that. When you treat the staff like an enemy, well, they'll treat you like an enemy too, and that's why we do not have road improvements being prioritized in District 1 Orange County. You look at other districts, you look at District 2, a lot of motion going on up there, but I know for a fact that commissioner has a very different relationship with the staff. You have to treat people with respect. If I was to walk into Gymnastics USA and start yelling at the staff, how well would they perform? Now, she hasn't yelled at people, I'm not saying that, but you gotta work with them and be nice to them and not lambaste them from the dais. So I think going back to that partnership mentality, working with staff, trying to understand their perspective, and then not just working with the staff, but going with the people that disagree with the staff, sitting down with them, sitting down with other stakeholders, and you gotta do it. That's the job. The job is not to be an expert on every single thing in government. We've got enough experts. We just need some common sense.
Thank you, Mr. Arthur. Commissioner Wilson, you have 2 minutes to rebuttal.
So in a typical Tuesday afternoon, there are oftentimes 20 land use cases. 16 of those are District 1 cases, which means that I would recommend knowing a little something about the comprehensive plan and the code if you're gonna go in. Because your residents are relying on you, not as an expert, but as their representative. They've chosen you to represent them. I am the person who sits there in their stead and says, my residents are concerned about this. My residents are worried that they're not gonna be able to bike to school. My residents are concerned. And those are the debates that we have. I'm not throwing out state law. I'm not throwing out anything that's necessarily super complex or required any subject matter expertise. It is advocacy, but it's with a basis of knowledge and understanding of our code and of our comprehensive plan. I've been able to do that and identify places in the code that are broken, and I say broken, but that are not working for our residents anymore. And so when you see the updates that we've seen recently with our wetland code after the flooding and with the tree preservation ordinance, because people were like, why are we scrubbing off every last tree? Those were because I was able to identify spots in the code that needed updates. And that does require some reading, and that requires some study, and that requires knowing enough about it to represent the needs of your people.
We'll come back to you, Commissioner Wilson, for this next question. We're just going to come back to you for this next question. You will have 3 minutes to respond. Mr. Arthur, you will have a 2-minute rebuttal. Commissioner Wilson, you have been one of the most outspoken defenders of the Split Oak Forest Wildlife and Environmental Area. As District 1 Commissioner, why have you devoted so much time to this cause rather than those in this district?
That's the easiest question I've gotten. That was before I became a commissioner. I mean, I think something you should know about me is I've been an environmental advocate as long as I've been alive. This isn't new, this isn't for show, it's not a slogan. I'm an environmental advocate. I got involved in that in, 2015, 2016, when somebody came to me, a botanist, and said, I think they're surveying out there. And I'm like, they can't survey out there, that's a protected piece of land. It's public. It was purchased between with Orange County, Osceola County, and the state of Florida's help. And that was the beginning of that journey. It did bring me to this seat. I was very concerned with the idea that my predecessor didn't hear the calls of the environmental community. The problems that we have right now in the loss of our habitat and wildlife, it's devastating. And so to choose a toll road over land that was purchased with your tax dollars is an absolute travesty, and we should all be furious about it every day. But I've let that process play out also, because what I knew is that if we were able to get something on a ballot and the people would speak, that potentially we could stop that. And so it did go on a ballot as a charter amendment in 2020, and over 86% of Orange County voters did say protected. So that's not done yet, but I don't spend time at work on that. I do allow, when that comes up, I allow some of the history I have to be part of the discussion. And I use the expertise everywhere across the board in preserving any land that we can preserve.
Thank you. Mr. Arthur, you have 2 minutes to rebut.
Sure. So that's, I think, 6 times we've heard about Scott Boyd or the former commissioner. I'm not Scott Boyd, by the way. I know he's a handsome dude, but he's a member of the audience. So I am your challenger. We should focus on that and not the past. Now, the other thing is, you look at I know she likes to pretend like I don't read and I don't, I got a GED, but she says I don't study things and I don't. Well, I know that you voted for Vision 2050, and that's an unmitigated disaster. It's putting higher density with less oversight from our commissioners. That means less oversight from you with higher density. I'm not for that. I think that there was a lot of problems with Vision 50. I don't think that it was ready to move forward, but what do I know? So with the Split Oak Forest thing, it was a little bit frustrating, because we had our current commissioner. It started before she started, of course, but it went through for like almost the first year, I think. You couldn't find the commissioner. She was in Tallahassee. She was everywhere. Osceola, everywhere that wasn't West Orange, because of the split fork issue. A tremendously important issue, and you don't want to set a precedent and everything like that, but this is West Orange County, and we need to focus on that issue to the extent to understand it and to vote on it when necessary, but you have to be here for the residents and their issues. That is the fact, and we didn't see that, and it's a big problem. So, I think that with that, when we have issues like our infrastructure crisis in Orange County, we talk about the expertise. She said a lot about expertise, but does anybody feel like the expertise has helped our infrastructure for the past 4 years or stopped growth? I don't think so. So it goes back to practical, community-driven, partnership mentality, common sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Wilson didn't mention it, and I mentioned earlier, let's try to stay closer to the topic of the question. Thank you.
I don't have a problem with it, but she
Just
said it
a
to me, and I just
Scott
want to
Boyd
make
thing.
sure.
It's just-
I said my predecessor was actually Betsy Vanderlei that voted for the toll road.
I'll make a new hash. I'll make a new one for Betsy.
Well,
Let's continue on with the questions. Thank you so much.
so if we ignore our
Next
past.
question will be for both candidates. Again, like Commissioner Wilson said, and I said earlier, let's try to stay on topic with each question. This will be, like I said, for both candidates, there will be 2 minutes to respond. Mr. Arthur, we will go to you first. What are your political career aspirations beyond the Orange County Commission?
So obviously I'm asked this question all the time since I'm running for office, but the truth of the matter is I'm just focused on Orange County. And another question that I was asked at the beginning a lot is, Austin, it's kind of crazy. You're running for Orange County Commissioner. That's a big deal. Why didn't you start at the City of Winter Garden, something smaller, work your way up? Because I'm not running to be a politician. I'm running because we have a leadership crisis in West Orange County right now. So I know that I would like to do 2 terms. I think that that's important. I think if we do a good job for 4 years and the people feel that it was a good job, we could probably go for a full 8 years, because a lot of this stuff does take time. So I understand that. So my political aspirations are focused on District 1, and I would love to serve 8 years as your next Orange County Commissioner.
I have no political aspirations past this. I want to serve my 2nd term and finish the good work we've started. I feel really committed to getting those things done, and I'm glad to hear the admission that some of those things take time, that there is no infrastructure fairy, and that we try really hard to make sure that we're planning and working, but things do take time. And so that full 8 years, I think, is fair, and I think that should be the end of those terms. I never wanted to see any term limit expansion on that, and then I will very happily go back to the career that I chose. It's something that I feel really strongly about, though, that anybody who feels like they should be running should run. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. See, we agree sometimes.
Let's continue on here for Mr. Arthur. You will have 3 minutes to respond to this question. Commissioner Wilson will have a 2-minute rebuttal. Mr. Arthur, your campaign donors include a variety of companies in the land development and real estate industries. Some say you are being, quote, bought, end quote, meaning that those who are financially supporting your campaign will expect you to vote a certain way if elected. Please respond to these criticisms.
Well, no, it's totally ridiculous, obviously. We put out a pie chart with all of our donors, and on that list, it's very, very hard to find this huge swath of $300,000 that developers gave me. By the way, you don't get paid to do this, so it's kind of a bummer, because I would love $300,000 right now, it'd be great. But we didn't get $300,000. We haven't even raised $300,000, but on Facebook, that's all you hear is that developers funding us to the tune of $300,000. It's not true. The pie chart actually shows our biggest developer block is retired people. So, I mean, the question should be, am I bought and paid for by all the retirees in West Orange County? And the answer is, I'm not, but I love them. And so we listen to everybody. We have a lot of people who are energized on this campaign. We have people that are giving for the first time in their lives to a political campaign. First time. They've never done it before. They're excited, they're energized, they want to change, they want somebody that's community driven. It's one thing to say that you're for the community and you could believe it, but if you're not boots on the ground, if you're not in the community, it's very hard to understand the needs of the community. That's why I serve on 12 community boards. I think it's about 6 or 7 committees right now. It's my life, it's what I do. I'm just trying to do it better for the people.
Mr. Wilson, you have 2 minutes for a rebuttal.
I don't take money from deep pockets. I don't take any. I have no campaign contributions from corporations. I sleep really well at night knowing every vote I take, every vote I make, every analysis is based on the oath I made to the Constitution of the state of Florida and to the Constitution of this country, and to absolute fidelity to the citizens of the Orange County. And so I think it's important. I understand that you've taken a lot of different contributions from different people, but just know that if there's a perception of impropriety anywhere out there, it's something that makes me feel uncomfortable, and I never want to be in a position, and I have never put myself in a position of conflicts of interest or any kind of a voting conflict. I feel very strongly that it's something that we haven't done a good enough job scrutinizing, and if people have taken different types of donations or contributions and they seem to vote one way against a comprehensive plan or code, maybe we need to look and see if that conflict of interest is affecting the way they're voting. We should be voting with a clear mind, not with our pockets.
Thank you. This next question will be for both candidates. Each will have 2 minutes to respond. We'll start with Commissioner Wilson. Evaluate the infrastructure in Horizon West. In particular, comment on the unfinished east-west roads that connect Orange County and Lake County.
Yeah, so I think we're all familiar, right? We drove out here today and you see the growth. Horizon West is different. It was the last sector plan approved by the state of Florida, and in its approvals with various development interests, and I'm sorry to say it, but we have to look at the history to understand what's happening. Developers and the county government at the time forged various joint planning agreements, special planning areas where they were actually different segments of roadway were attributed to particular developers. As those developments came forward, they now have to participate in that roadway. I think the problem I have, and what I think Mr. Arthur identified as being antagonistic, is that I don't think we're doing a good job of keeping those on track. And so in order to have an agreement with the developer that says, okay, you get to 60% of completion, we now need to finish this intersection, who are we getting to make sure that's happening? How do we make sure that that is happening in a way that we're not chasing that all the time? Now, I will say infrastructure first doesn't really account for how we pay for it, right? You have to pay for it somehow. And the way they did it in the past here in Horizon West was with these partnerships. So we really need to make sure that we're vigilant, making sure that those promises are kept, and that was exactly what I was addressing during our budget hearings. And I think we need to continue to do that. I have gone through, the whole stack of agreements that we have in these roadway network agreements for the villages to see who the different identified parties are, to make sure they're following the schedule they're supposed to be following.
Thank you. Mr. Arthur, you have 2 minutes.
No, that's okay. Thank you, though, Sam. But maybe I'm breaking the rules a little bit, but I'll use my time to do it. I do sleep well at night about my donations. They're awesome. We got a great campaign, lots of people involved. But you talked about impropriety on donations. So does that mean, and maybe you could do it right now, we know the person's in the audience, there's thousands of dollars of attack ads being spent against me that are not being reported by your campaign. You know about it. Will you tell that person to stop spending thousands of dollars against our campaign without you reporting it?
I would encourage you, as somebody who believes in law and order, to pursue your avenues if you are feeling like somebody is maligning you or libeling you.
The answer is no. She will not. She will take the thousands of dollars that are being spent to smear my name.
Everyone, please, let's continue.
Thousands of dollars.
No, and I don't think it's fair to ask me to police people who are criticizing
It's
you.
not policing, it's leadership. It's saying, listen, stop doing the bad things. Don't do anything inappropriate on my name. Don't put my name, Nicole Wilson, on something nasty. It's very easy.
I want to raise my voice like you are both adults. We're both here. We're all here to understand and learn more about this election. So let's please continue to remain civil and use your time appropriately to answer the questions as opposed to send another, response to Commissioner Wilson after we've asked you directly about your being bought or not by a political investor or whatever.
Yeah, I just got to set the record straight. There's a 150-foot road connecting Lake County to Orange County. Right now, it's called Fleming's Road. And when I started this election, they told us that it's going to be 2 years. Well, that was a year and a half ago. Now I think it's a year and a half, so that's a lot of years. It's a 150-foot gap. Lake County has done their part. They've talked about it, but this is still a year and a half out. Now, this would bring much-needed relief west and east between Lake and Orange County, and it's a toll-free situation. So we need more toll-free roads. We got enough toll roads, and so this is a great opportunity, but we can't get it done. And I've said it before. I mean, Councilmember David here and I, we could go over there and be done by happy hour connecting that 150-foot deal. So it's a big problem. I know that we need the right of way, but we need a commissioner that's going to go get it from these people, work with everybody, get the job done. We need to prioritize improvements, especially east and west, especially in Horizon West.
Thank you. So I'd like to take a second to again remind the audience to not raise your voice and speak to the commissioners, and let's keep this train on track. Commissioner Wilson, let's go ahead and go to you in this next question. You will have 3 minutes to respond. Mr. Arthur will have a 2-minute rebuttal. At the June 18th County Commission meeting, Chuck Woodall said his office has tried 3 times to schedule a meeting with you, but was not successful. You called this assertion, quote, bizarre. However, in the same meeting, District 5 Commissioner Emily Bonilla said that this has been an ongoing problem. Why has this been an issue during your term? And if re-elected, how can you assure District 1 residents that their concerns will be relayed to developers if those developers cannot schedule a meeting with you?
So I think there needs to be a clarification between my willingness to meet with a developer or meet with anybody and my willingness to be completely and totally at their beck and call. I am not at anyone's beck and call, and anybody in my district, anybody in the county, anybody who needs me is every bit as important as anybody who believes that their project should have risen to the top. I spoke with and I go to meetings with that particular developer all the time. You've been at some of them. We meet all the time. If he has heard my residents, we have met, we've come together, all of the information is laid out, then at that point, I'm not sure, when I said it was bizarre, I'm not sure what he was looking for. He did not want me to make a motion for denial, but it was a project that was going to impact people that were living right on a lake in a rural lifestyle. I will continue to defend my rural residents, period. If that means vocal criticism by a developer who couldn't get me on the phone, who looked at me and was like, I get all the commissioners' cell numbers. I'm like, not mine. I don't do that. I do not play that game. So understand that that is very different than not being available. I take meetings and appointments with anybody and everybody. I do district office hours. There is nobody that qualifies higher or lesser to make those appointments with me.
Thank you. Mr. Arthur, you have 2 minutes for response.
Yeah, I think that the difference, I think the disconnect is community meetings are critically important. We need to do them as much as we can. I agree with that. But there's a different thing between a community meeting and sitting down with somebody one-on-one, one-on-two, whatever it has to be, and actually going over the solutions, the proposals, and again, not just one side of the issue, but both sides of the issue. You need those private off the podium discussions to really understand the issue. And I think that that's what the frustration was with that particular incident you're citing, is that it was multiple attempts, and you know, it's just, that's troublesome, because then what happens is we lose. We don't get the right vote, you know, so even if we agree on a certain decision, which does happen quite often actually, but we don't get the right result. So I just think it's critically important to have the community meetings. I'm for that, but we also have to have those one-on-one meetings with people we disagree with, even with people we don't like. It's not my job to decide if I like somebody as a commissioner. It's my job to negotiate for the people.
Thank you. This will be our last question for both candidates, and then we will close with closing statements by each. In the spirit of community and trying to come together as people, we put this question intentionally, so it might get a laugh or two, but we do mean it seriously. We'll start with you, Mr. Arthur. What are 3 things you admire about your opponent?
3?
3.
I could do it. No, I'm just teasing, just a little fun. I love that she loves trees and the environment. I really do. That's a critical issue because, you know, we see in West Orange County, and I know earlier I said as I'm the newcomer. I'm not a newcomer. I've been here 17 years, but I'm from Miami originally, so we know what it's like to lose your trees. And so we don't want West Orange County to become Miami. There's a reason why I fled. So I appreciate that about the commissioner. I appreciate that she's a wonderful mother. It's very obvious. She's got very good children, and she has a wonderful husband as well, who's always been very nice to me. And please give him a round of applause. That was starting. Go ahead. It's true. And I appreciate also that when we've been one-on-one, she's always been very respectful, very kind to me, and I hope I reciprocated that. I know tonight was a little tough, but you know, that's the nature of the beast. Like you said, politics is a little tough. So, but she's always been very kind to me and respectful to me, so I appreciate that as well. We need more civility and less Washington, D.C. style politics, so that's what I have to say about that.
Okay, I could not agree more, right? I think that even this debate tonight, I know it gets heated, I know we're passionate, but I'm grateful for that. I think it's really important. Look at this crowd. This is democracy, and I'm really grateful for that. And so my number 1 would be that you have those convictions and that you believe in this type of event, and that you believe in stepping in. Whether we agree or not on the issues is a whole different thing, but that you stepped up into a very uncomfortable position to become a public official, and I appreciate that. You also have a beautiful family. You have a family that loves you dearly, I know that, and it's something that's so important, especially going through this with the sharks out there, the political sharks out there. So, and then you're a man of faith, and I think you have been consistent and vocal about that. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. So to close our debate, each candidate will have a 3-minute closing statement. Commissioner Wilson, you will go first.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this time. I appreciate I liked that question. I was like, oh wait, hang on. That was a good one. Was that from the audience? Was that a? So I think once again I want to recap by saying this is a job interview, right? This is a chance for everyone to look at our resumes to get a good indication of whether or not we are qualified. I know it's different for me because I have come to you after 3.5 years of service. But I also have a wealth of service that I added to that before I even got here. I want to make sure that when I think about the things we've gotten done, just even in that 3.5 years, I've hosted nearly 400 community meetings. I've closed over 1,400 constituent cases, organized over 50 community outreach events, including resource fairs. I've opened new parks across the district, added 1,000 acres of environmentally sensitive land, I've successfully championed the passage of a tree protection ordinance, wetland conservation ordinance, fertilizer runoff ordinance, thank you, Lee, and there's so much more. And what I want to say is that we just build on that. I am the right person for this job. I want you to vote for me. Even if you potentially didn't hear what you wanted to hear from me tonight, I would ask you to do your homework, do your research, look and see what I've accomplished in my lifetime, not just in the last couple of years. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. Ms. Walker, you have 2 minutes to say.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Thank you, Commissioner, for taking the time. You know, we have quite a few problems in West Orange County, and as everybody probably agrees, growth is one of them. Now, if somebody tells you that we could stop the growth, that's not true. I got beachfront in Arizona, I can tell you. You're not gonna stop the growth, it's gonna come. But what you can do is control it, you can manage it, and that's what we need to do. And that's why I talk about an infrastructure first mentality. You know, there is no infrastructure fairy, I know that's true. But what you can do is you can work with people, you can negotiate with people and get the job done. And so with that infrastructure first mentality, we will move forward, slow the growth down. We can't keep getting pounded in District 1. But there's other issues. Public safety is one of them. That's a big priority for me. I'm very grateful to have the endorsement of law enforcement, so we're happy about that. And we will always support our law enforcement. We will make sure that the sheriff's office is fully funded and they have the support from us. But it goes beyond just that enforcement. It's also about working with groups like Matthew's Hope. Matthew's Hope is an incredible organization. We have a homelessness crisis in West Orange County and the entire state of Florida. And we need to have a holistic solution on these problems, including getting to our youth early. That's why I'm a proud board member of 8 Waves Children and Family Services. This is an organization that helps our youth early on, gets them the education they need, gets them the tools to be successful. Habitat for Humanity, getting people in homes, changing their lives generationally. The point is this: we need more partnerships with our not-for-profit organizations. We've done a lot of it in Orange County, we need to do more. And the West Side needs attention too. You know, it's a diverse, I used to say it's 250,000 residents. Somebody told me that it's getting close to 280,000 now. So we're really growing fast, and we're the biggest district in Orange County. And that's a diverse district. I mean, it goes all the way down to Hunters Creek, Williamsburg, Dr. Phillips, Windermere, Horizon West, Winter Garden, Oakland, all of these areas, Tildenville, the wonderful Tildenville, and the historic East Winter Garden neighborhood, a new name for that wonderful community that has been under-resourced for far too long. This is the focus. We have a diverse community and we need to be present on the ground, boots on the ground all the time. That's how we're gonna make a change. The final thing I think is just, we need to be fiscally conservative in Orange County. We mentioned that the growth isn't tremendous, but the growth is tremendous on the budget. It went from a $4 billion plus budget to now almost $7 billion. So we have to make sure that we're being responsible with that, taking the time, yes, to study the budget and to learn about it and to make sure that we're being responsible with it. So the bottom line is this: I am going to be with you. We've had a great campaign. We've got 20 days left, I think it is, and we're going to win. We're going to win big, but I need your help. I need you to come out, knock on them doors with me. I've been doing it a lot. Get on the phone calls. Go to Vote Austin Arthur to sign up. That's Vote Austin Arthur to sign up. God bless you all. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much to both of you. That was the end of our debate. Let's have a round of applause for both candidates before we wrap up here. Thank you.
VoteWilson.com, just because he got to go over his time 3 times.
Sorry.
I'm like ready to.
I didn't
All
mean to
right,
go over
before
time.
you guys leave, okay, one thing, don't forget about your ticket for the